Hello friends, I Nirmala Rawat welcome you to my YouTube channel. Thank you for supporting me. Now we are a family of 300 members. Yay! Keep on supporting me. And don't forget, watch, like, comment and share. Moving on to chapter 7, adjusting to Ayodhya. Mata had cautioned us that life in Ayodhya would be very different from Mithila and that it would take time to adjust. Everything is more formal there, she had said. We have to follow their customs and regulations. We will not be able to wander as freely as we have in Mithila. At first, we will be foreigners, but that will change over time. You will have each other's, so you will be able to keep the feeling of Mithila alive in your hearts. You must never forget the freedom we have had here, and someday perhaps we can bring some of that freedom to the people of Ayodhya. That is my hope. Despite these words of caution, we were unprepared for what greeted us in Ayodhya. The city was much larger and grander than Mithila. Its wealth was on display everywhere. It was the capital of an expanding and prosperous kingdom. Guards and soldiers lined our route, evidence of the military might of the kingdom. It was more than a little intimidating. Elaborate ceremonies greeted us along the road to the palace. And when we arrived, we were astounded at its size. I had thought that palace in Mithila was grand, but it was nothing like that of Ayodhya. I wondered how we would ever find our way about, but we were not to have the freedom to roam the palace. We were assigned 2 rooms in the back of the palace, and our movements were limited to Mata Sita's quarters. That was fine with us, as our only care was in serving her. We knew it would not be possible to integrate with the other servants. As we were putting away Mata's belongings, Soma turned to us and said, "We must not call Mata by that name when we are in the company of others. They will find that disrespectful." "What do we call our Mata then, if not Mata?" asked Usha. "We don't call her anything. I have noticed that the servants here do not address the family directly. But if we must address her, we simply call her Rani." "And when we are alone with her?" I asked. "When we are alone with her, we will be as we were in Mithila." She paused. "And I have noticed that the other servants here cast their eyes down when in the company of the family and do not speak until they are spoken to." Soma then added with a pained look on her face, "They are also not addressed by their name, but simply as servant." We looked at one another. "I don't think we will be in their company much, so I'm sure this will not be a problem," I hurried to say. "I want to make sure that nothing we do or say in any way reflects poorly on Mithila. We must remember we are representing our Janak Baba and Sunainama." Mata's days were busy with many functions, and it was only early in the morning, during rest time after the noon meal, and then again late at night that we had any access to her. The meals were elaborate affairs, as the household consisted of many more people. We were not needed in the kitchen or to serve the meals. In Mithila, we each had served many different functions in the household, but here in Ayodhya, our duties were restricted to caring for Mata and Urmilla's personal needs. I missed the intimacy of Mithila. I missed seeing Janak Baba and Sunenama and the other servants with whom I had grown up. I missed seeing Mata throughout the day in one manner or another, hearing her laughter, which had filled the palace, and sharing stories of her various doings. The palace of the Raghu clan was a much more somber place. I wondered how Mata was faring in the new environment, but we had little occasion to ask. When we saw her, she seemed radiant, and on the few occasions that we saw her with Sri Ram, we could see the blossoming of their love. They both seemed engrossed in each other's presence. But Soma saw something else. One day I asked her whether she had any notion of how Mata was adjusting to Ayodhya. Soma said, "There is great joy for her here, but also unease. I can tell by her few remarks that she senses the disunity in the palace, and this causes her pain." Disunity? What do you mean? Maharaja Dashrath and Mata had formed an instant bond, and his affection for her was known to all. Likewise, his three queens all doted on her. What disunity could she be referring to? Do you not feel, Meenakshi, something lacking here? A certain harmony that existed in Mithila, which I think was due to Janak Baba's nature. Here, the Maharaja seems torn between his wives, and although they put on the appearance of closeness, I sense something else. And if I sense it, no doubt Mata does as well. I hope she is able to heal whatever problems exist here. I grew thoughtful. I had heard certain backbiting among the servants, but Mata had warned us not to get involved in the household politics, so I had closed my ears to such talk. We must remain above politics and gossip, she said. After all, we are foreigners here. In Mithila, we don't have such divisions. There is something else, continued Soma. I feel that she is longing to touch the earth, to be with the animals and plant life. She hasn't left the palace since we arrived. I'm sure she will soon call us with some plan. Soma was right. A few days later, as we were helping Mata take off and put away her ornaments, she turned to us and in a low voice asked us to meet her in her dressing room just before dawn. I have not yet met the river. We will slip out of the palace and go to meet her quietly before anyone stops us. Bring all we need for the puja. Rohana, Soma, and I arrived just before dawn and found Mata dressed like us, with her head cover hiding her hair and part of her face. No one would suspect who she was. We each had a tray of flowers and lights for the river goddess. Usha stayed behind to care for Urmilla. Let us go by the back gate. There are fewer guards there, Sita said. So we crept down the hallway and stairs to the back gate, where we were stopped by two guards. Soma spoke. Rajkumari Sita has asked us to offer a puja to the river. We won't be gone long. They are the servants from Mithila, said the other guard. You can let them go. Once out of the palace, a sigh of release came over all of us. We walked along the river until we found a secluded spot, and there we offered the river goddess flower and lights while Mata chanted mantras and invocations. The first ray of dawn were approaching when Mata entered the water and quietly spoke to the river goddess. Before we knew it, Mata was submerged in the water. Coming up for air, she called to us, laughing and splashing. Come, the river Devi wants to play with us. She is the younger sister of Gangama and is very playful. Rohana and Soma slowly entered. Since the time of my near drowning, I had kept my distance from the river, not wanting to test my fate. Soma bobbed up and down, giggling. She told Mata how wonderful it was to be out in the open. Saryu Devi knew I needed this time to be free of all formalities. That is why she called me here, Mata said. She called you? Soma asked. Yes. For many nights I have heard her calling me. Just think, I have been here so many months and have not yet come to meet her properly. But I couldn't see how to slip away until the idea came to me last night. We did not stay too long by the river, just long enough for the sense of freedom and joy we had known in Mithila to return to us. And as we re entered the palace, we found SiyaRam waiting by Mata's dressing room, a gentle smile on his face. Had I known you were longing for the river, I would have brought you there myself, he said to her. I know. You are not accustomed to be so restricted. We will go to the forest soon. Mata indicated that she would not need us to help her dress, and so we three slipped away so they could be alone. In a few days' time, Soma accompanied Mata and SiyaRam to the forest. When they returned, she told us how Mata insisted on getting down from the chariot, taking off her shoes and walking into the forest. It is not the same to go by chariot, she said. One must feel the earth. Soma waited by the chariot for them. They were gone hours, she said. I'm sure Mata was familiarizing herself with all the animals and plants' life. But when they emerged from the forest, Mata was quiet, said Soma. Later, she told me of signs of human encroachment. A balance must be found, she said, between the growing needs of human beings and the other species. Without such a balance, the harmony that exists naturally will be destroyed. She is right, Soma mused. Mata ensured such a balance in Mithila, but here in Ayodhya, she does not have the same right to speak out. We looked at one another, understanding perfectly well what Soma was referring to. In Mithila, Mata's voice was second only to that of Janak Baba. Everyone respected her wisdom, but things were very different in Ayodhya, and life was far more complex. Here, many different opinions were expressed, and there were competing power centers. The spread of Aryan culture was prioritized at the expense of other species. But there were things that we did not know then. It was only on the night of her departure that Mata shared with us the underlying causes that led to the event, which, though dreaded by us, was welcomed by the rishis and sages who were at the forefront of spreading Aryan culture. How happy Mata is! I have never seen her more joyful, I expressed to Soma a few weeks after the visit to the forest. We had just returned one morning from helping Mata dress. There was not the hint of a smile on Soma's face. Rarely had I seen her so serious. Don't you agree? I asked. Her face softened and she nodded. I found her quietude disconcerting and so pressed her. Looking down, she replied, You see Mata's external expressions. Meenakshi, the face she shows to the world. I see what is taking place underneath the surface. What do you mean? I asked in alarm. Her joy is indeed bubbling over because that is the imprint she wants to leave when she departs from here. She wants to leave some of her joy in this house that will be overcome with sorrow. Depart? Sorrow? What on earth are you referring to, Soma? Have you not noticed the bitterness that has taken over Maharani Kaikai? Have you not seen her dark looks? I stared at Soma in confusion, dumbstruck by the implication of her words. Never mind, said Soma. Let us enjoy what time we have. Thank you.